How are you, my friend?
Good morning. Good morning.
You're indoors this time. Where are
I'm
you?
indoors. I was outdoors and it was too hot. Came in.
So, what? So, was the sun directly shining upon the Greg Garza outdoor studio?
Yes.
And so, discretion being the better part of valor, you decided to come in and hang out with us this morning. And we
Get
definitely,
a little bit of air conditioning for sure.
as always, we appreciate that kind of stuff when you can take time out of your hyper busy schedule to come and hang out with us, whether it's doing stuff with Major League Soccer and making sure that everyone's on the same page off the field when it comes to their teammates and everything. I want to do a couple of things because I kept your notes. I kept your notes from last time,
Okay.
and I want to get into this, but I want to hold my breath for a second on that. Since you spent some time with the national team, I want to go there. I want to talk about them and Atlanta United. So, new coach for the national team and Mauricio Pochettino. It appears that two hedge fund dudes helped out to make sure that they could pay what Pochettino was looking for. What do you think about Pochettino now being a part of things with U.S. Soccer?
I like it. It's another. It's the biggest hire since Klinsmann, right? So
A lot of
look at it.
Be bigger than that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're looking at a coach who has maybe not had as much success, but somebody who is very what's the right word for it? Somebody who has, I guess you could say, a lot of potential.
Yeah.
On the rise, somebody who has a say, somebody who I feel like is really going to put their foot down on a lot of different things. And so I think that in changing the mindset, and what all these players keep saying is we need somebody to come in and change the mindset, need somebody to come in and change the mindset, need somebody to come in and change the mindset. This is what better person could you get? An Argentinian, right? All the success I had within my careers was always with Argentinian coaches. And they don't play no games. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
They don't play no games. That's the direct quote, huh?
Yep.
I mean,
yeah.
They're gonna let you know what they think. They're gonna let you know what their expectations are. They're going to sit there and it's like, all right, you might have been with me or someone who is of Argentinian descent in a team situation. This is a national team situation. Capital N, capital T. We ain't messing around here. That's the vibe that I'm getting from you.
Don't argue with an Argentinian. I'll just say that. My coach, one of my coach in Tijuana always put it. He said, "Look, in Argentina we had Diego Maradona, Lionel Messi, and God. Those are the three Argentinians that you need to pay attention to,
and not in that order, I imagine, though, right?
Oh no, not in that order. Yeah, probably in the order that I just gave it.
Yes,
yeah.
I mean, that is not a surprise. And the reason that I asked you first about men's national team goes to our notes from last time, and like I said, I wrote it down from 2 weeks ago. And it has to do with a couple of things that you said. Quoting Greg in the U.S., we are too nice. We are too nice nationally as Americans and possibly representing ourselves out on the field as a U.S. national team or a U.S. representative. So having an Argentinian as a coach, I would posit the idea that it might twist that being too nice to not necessarily needing to be too nice. At least I would think that would be the path that we're going down here.
Yeah, I think he'll for sure change the mindset of a lot of these guys. You have the good old saying in Spanish, you got to play with the knife between the teeth. That's what they say.
Garza, yes.
Cuchillo entre los dientes. That's definitely a saying that they kind of live by, and I'm sure that's something that he will implement.
Can you translate that effectively without getting us into trouble?
Yeah, knife between the teeth.
Oh, okay.
Right? It's, yeah. I'm not going to translate it. I remember I just had a couple of coaches whenever I played in Mexico that you would just look over at the bench and they would just be like this. And you just kind of shake your head and be like, okay, I know what to do.
Yeah.
I know how to be. Yeah.
I got to dial it up all of a sudden.
Yep.
And that got into note number 2 and 3 from last time that you were here. Actually, since I'm left-handed, I guess I should do that.
I love it.
The world of the ethical dilemma and being malicious without malice.
Wow. That's a good one.
Yeah, you like, hey, you wrote it down. You say you talked about it, and it was toward the end of a segment, and I'm like, oh, I better write this down for next time. So,
Yeah.
the idea of being malicious without malice, and the idea of the ethical dilemma when it comes
Yeah.
to the ethical dilemma and having these kinds of discussions with your mentees. I guess at the surface level, to start things off, do they understand the idea of having an ethical dilemma and trying to get past it out on the field?
I'll give a great example. This is using my own son, right? Great example. I remember there was a play probably about 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, and he shot the ball, went out for we were winning 1-0. His team was winning 1-0. And it is, I think, like the final couple minutes of the game.
Okay.
Right. And he shot the ball, hit the post, and went out of bounds. And he could have gone and got it. And I think he was about to go and get it, and he was about to give it to the goalie. And I screamed. I said, leave it. Go back to your position and leave it. Let the goalie get it. Right? It's the last couple of minutes of the game. Let the goalie get it. It's their ball. Don't get it. And I remember I had a parent from the other team scream, way to teach your kid sportsmanship. And that to me is just that's the maliciousness without malice. Because if you go to anywhere else in the world and watch soccer, these kids at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, if that ball goes out of bounds and they're winning 1-0, they're going to fake stretch like they're doing a quad stretch, and they're going to let that ball roll right by. And that to me is just like, that is the thing that I think we need to teach Americans, that you'll do anything to win, right? That's not, that to me is not evil, right? That's not evil. That has nothing to do with sportsmanship, in my opinion. That is finding the littlest, smallest of details to try and win a game. And that's something that I think, if you watch Copa America, right?
Yeah.
If you watch Copa America, that those guys are doing anything and everything they can to win. Now, are they cheating? No. Was that moment right there a teaching lesson to tell my son, hey, that's cheating? No, because it's not cheating. It's their ball, right? You don't have to be the kid that's going to take the ball. You're not losing. You don't have to get the ball and take it back and put it on the 6-yard box, right? To now make play go by quicker. You're winning. Let the time go by slower. You just take your time. It's like when a corner kick goes, us as parents, or us as coaches sometimes, or as kids, you're winning the ball and the ball goes out for a corner kick, and an American kid, every American kid that I watch, they will sprint over to get the ball and they'll put it on the corner, and you're winning 1-0 and you have 3 minutes left. Well, I remember the second I moved to Brazil and that happened, I probably would have gotten taken out, been the next sub, because the coach would have said, hey, the next time the ball goes out for a corner kick and you're winning 1-0, I want you to walk as slow as you can. Right. And that to me is not malicious. That to me is, right, maliciousness without malice, right? And I think those are the little nuances that I think other cultures can teach us to understand. And I think that's probably a huge asset of what Pochettino will probably give these guys, right? Even from a professional level. I think it trickles down, right? And I think that's a huge piece of it. To really, in my personal opinion, it is doing it. I heard the saying the other day, and it says there is a winning mentality, that most kids and most people have a winning mentality. And then beyond the winning mentality is the domination mentality.
Okay.
And it was talking about professional athletes having a domination mentality. You don't want to just win. you want to absolutely dominate. And that is even if you're playing against, right, or you're competing with your teammates, right? If I'm competing with my teammates or my old teammates, and we're doing whatever the silliest of soccer tennis games, right? We're playing soccer tennis. I want to dominate my friend in soccer tennis, right? And I think that's the mentality that I think we need to bring within the national team to just find a way to do anything possible within their hands without cheating, without being evil, but by winning. And I think that's a huge step that I personally think Pochettino will bring to the team.
Because I would posit that there is a difference between sportsmanship and gamesmanship and being at the front of soccer etiquette and being prim and proper and like, yes, we have to do things this way because they've done it this way for 5 centuries, and
Yeah.
but there's a difference between sportsmanship, gamesmanship, and being a dominant individual out there. And I think that you can integrate two of three of those at the same time. You can be dominant and you can have gamesmanship. You can be dominant and have sportsmanship. You can have gamesmanship and still have sportsmanship. So I think you can take two of those three at any given time and still be as highly successful as you feel like you need to be.
And I think there are moments even when I watch youth soccer that I just give another example of even that, of watching kids there that you might be winning 2-1 and there's a counterattack for the other team. And in your mind, you have these parents or you have your coach telling you, don't foul. Right. Well, mine is, it's okay to foul if there's a counterattack. Professional foul. Pull
Yeah,
his jersey.
absolutely.
Pull his jersey from behind. Right. Stop the counterattack.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need to receive a yellow, you receive a yellow. It's okay. It's a warning. A yellow card is a warning. Right. Just don't do it again. Right. But you've taken you've taken something for the team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's you're not being evil in that moment. You're not coming from behind and absolutely swiping some kid from his feet and just kicking him as hard as you can. No, you're creating a professional foul to try and give an advantage for your team to hopefully. That's why I say you're doing anything and everything you can to win. And that is something that I think if I were to go to Spain or Brazil or any other place in the world,
Yeah.
in the United States, pretty much.
Yeah.
But you see it quite often there, right? You see these kids already having, because I think they watch so much. They watch they're so used to seeing those things within the game that they watch, and we don't have that, right? We don't have that within us. For them, it's it embodies their culture of doing anything and everything to win, even from a very young age.
You're reading my notes because the word I was going to use was cultural, and it seems like it is a cultural thing in the United States that regardless of what we're talking about here, we have to be the ones that play by the rule book. We have to be the ones that stand the straightest and sit there and point at the rule book and go, well, these are the rules of engagement and these are the rules that are written. Therefore, these are the rules that they are. And like I said, we could be talking sports. We could be talking,
Yeah.
business or whatever. But these are the rules, and these are the rules that we have to abide by as, the guy in the white hat. But culturally, I think that, and it's easy to see from what you mentioned with all of the countries that all the different leagues that are out there now that we can watch, that we have access to, that it's not one of those situations where you have to wear the white hat all the time. There's nothing wrong with the good guy who's got that little streak of wearing the dark stripe every once in a while. There's nothing wrong with that if you are chasing after an achievement. And other folks are doing it, but you got to, we have to be too nice. We've got to be the white hat all the time. It seems like it's a cultural thing.
I spoke to a mentee yesterday, a girl, and I told her, look, this weekend I want you to play a chip on your shoulder with a chip on your shoulder, but also be compassionate. Right? You can be both. You can still play with a chip on your shoulder, and you can know that you are, right, the bomb. But you can still be compassionate, and you can still be compassionate towards your teammates and be a great leader. But, give me the ball, I'll resolve it. Right. Give me the ball. I'll take care of this. And I think that's the mentality that I think I want a lot of these kids they can take on that responsibility and sometimes put that pressure on their shoulders because it holds them accountable to a certain extent, but it helps them mature and it helps them grow in a certain way. And so I like putting that pressure on kids sometimes because I feel like in their minds, and we always talk about this sometimes with kids, and just I use the younger generations because I think from a soccer perspective, we are still so far away from, this is my personal opinion, from winning a World Cup.
Yeah.
We're so far away. But because I think those are still like the little nuances and the little things that I think it needs to start from a very young age to start teaching these things that is, and I guess, the word will always come back to hunger. Right. And I think that to me is, I think, something that you see in other cultures, you see in other places. There's a hunger from the very get-go. And I just don't see that with soccer yet. I see it with other sports within the States, but not with soccer yet. And I think once we develop that hunger, I think that things will change.
Yeah, well, I would sit there and say that probably because those sports were here first and they've been here longer, that you have that those mentalities attached to those sports. And the longer that soccer is here, the more it becomes ingrained, the more that it becomes a part of the fabric of what we see on a daily basis. Then that idea will continue to rise and be a part of things in soccer. I would venture to guess that would be the case.
I would assume so. And I think that's, if you speak to kids who travel the world or go play soccer in other places, although they might not be playing at a higher level in the other places, but every time they come back, I'll always ask them, all these kids that go to, Europe or South America during the summer, and I'll always ask them, what's the biggest difference? Like, we loved it. It was so great, man. Those kids, they want it more than anything. And my question is, well, why don't you want it more than anything? You have to want it more. You can do this. You can have the same mentality, just in a different environment, in a different location, and it's okay to have that mentality. And so, I think that's a massive lesson for all of us. And just going back to our national team head coach, I think that is the mindset that he will try. I don't know if he will be successful, but that he will try, and strive to implement within the team that we have right now.
How hard is it to pull the want-to gene out of a mentee?
The want-to gene of just like wanting it more than anything.
Yeah, basically there's a Southern expression. It's about the want-to, and it's it's like, well, you see someone who is allegedly not performing to what adults have as a standard for a teenager. The want-to isn't there, So how difficult is it to pull the want-to out of a mentee?
I always try and like pick their brains a bit and get them to understand, obviously the game is very mental, right? It is. I always tell kids, I think it's 100% mental, but it can only be 100% mental if you also have heart.
Yeah.
Right. And if your heart's not in it, and that grit, and like you said, that desire, that will, that love, that passion, then the brain is most likely not going to be in it. So before your mental game can play a massive piece, there has to be heart. And so I think that's a huge component. That's a huge way that I try and explain to kids the best way possible for them to understand that. But I can't teach that.
Yeah.
Right. I can teach them things to use as self-talk. I can teach them things in ways to be a great leader. I can teach them ways in understanding that life is not fair. I can't teach heart. That's something I can't teach. That's something I can talk about. But like I always tell them, and we've talked before about the bamboo tree, right? I can only plant the seed. The rest is up to them to water it each and every day. And that's that grit. That's that heart that you have behind it.
When you see as a mentor the bamboo tree grow, when you get to see as a mentor, you get to see that want to come out. You get to see the heart. You get to see the Garza come out from a mentee that you've been trying to sit there and just have a conversation when it's like, hey, if it's there, I know it's there. When you get to see all of that come out of a mentee, what does that mean to you and Parky when you get to see something like that happen?
It's great because in my personal opinion, it is knowing that 99%, right? 99% of that kid's future is not going to be in professional soccer. And so, well, 99.9, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's coming to an understanding that whatever that kid does, he or she will have that mentality to tackle their tasks ahead of them, right? To want to accomplish those tasks that they have ahead of them. And that's the biggest message. That's the biggest message, in wanting them to understand that if they have college ahead, if they have entrepreneurship ahead, if they have a managing position ahead, if they have an industrial worker ahead, it doesn't matter whatever they become, that they will have tasks ahead of them each and every day. And I know in that moment, whatever this kid does, he or she is going to be able to accomplish those tasks, those given tasks. And that's the most gratifying thing for us, I think, and seeing that and noticing that, and also just helping them understand, the challenges that will come along with it. And I think that's an interesting piece of it as well.
Hanging out with Twitterless Greg Garza here on the Friday Free Kick here on the SDH Network on the morning show. Before you came on, I was talking about Atlanta United 2. And last night they lose in a penalty kick shootout. The way the points are allotted in MLS Next Pro is 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, and if you win in penalties after the fact, you get an extra point.
Okay.
Atlanta,
so every game goes into penalties.
Every game, if
you win.
If it's drawn after 90 minutes, then it goes into PKs. If it's decided in 90 minutes, it's 3 points to the winner.
Okay.
If it's a draw after 90 minutes, if each team gets a point, but then you go to penalties and the winner in penalties gets an extra point for winning.
Gotcha.
They call it a shootout win.
Okay.
Atlanta United 2, 3 matches to go in the regular season. Last night, they go to Charlotte to take on Charlotte FC's MLS Next Pro team. They don't win in regulation, and they end up losing in penalties. And so they needed to win their last 3 and get some tiebreakers to get into the postseason. So regular season is it for Atlanta United 2. But what I wanted to discuss with you before we go is, okay, so there are still 2 matches left in their regular season. And there are still things that those players, whomever Steve Cook chooses to be a part of the game day 18s and then the 11s on Tuesday and then on the 29th, the season isn't over, even though in wins and losses and a postseason, it's over. When you still have things to show with only a handful of games left, when there is no postseason for you,
nothing for fighting for. Yeah.
Right. So then how difficult is that to keep the light switch on so you can continue to show, hey, I'm improving. Hey, I deserve to hang around here. Or I'm playing for my job in these last 2 matches. That's the big thing here. How do you impress upon mentees and other individuals and peers around you, hey, just because a task down the line is not attainable doesn't mean that you should just stop doing what you're doing.
The message I would give every single one of those kids is that your season is over, right? But don't let your career be over. Mm-hmm. Because maybe these last 2 games are the determining factor of your soccer career. Because that's how quickly it can change. That's right. How quickly it can go in a snap of a finger in 2 games. Your career can be over in 2 games. So that would be the message that I would give. It's totally up to them. Is their season over? Yeah, but it's up to you personally if you want your career to be over. And so if you're switched on and you can continue to show within 2 games and kind of be those your trial moments, how are you going to prepare yourself for those trials? How are you going to try and perform within those trials? to continue to have a livelihood, to have a job. I think that's extremely important. Now, I know a lot of those kids, I believe, are with twos, and I think a lot of them might already be committed to colleges, right? So
There are a handful, yeah.
a handful of kids. So I mean, for those kids, I think it's more so just getting minutes under their belt and maybe that experience to prepare them for what's next. But if there are a few players on that team that have the opportunity to continue to, whether it be play for Atlanta United 2 or go somewhere else within MLS Next Pro, then, or even USL or another MLS team, then these are your footage moments and clip moments to start compiling, and you have 2 games to do it. So you're creating the opportunity for yourself.
All right. As you fight the lawnmowers and the handymen that are doing all the work outside with the leaf blowers today, and it sounds like you're fighting grass allergies that with everything.
I've been dying with allergies since the fall, man. It's killing me. I feel like I'm talking out of my nose.
Well, it is a very nice bass, nasally Greg Garza hanging out with us this morning. I know that you're probably going to want to go hang upside down for about 4 hours after you're done talking. What's going on with you and Parky and Beyond Goals? I know that the high school's kind of getting ready. Colleges are are off and running. What's going on?
Same old, same old. Still plugging away and creating new ideas to continue to grow the game. And like I always say, give back to the game that gave so much to us.
Loving it. At BG Mentoring, Beyond Goals Mentoring on the World Wide Web and on the interwebs and all that kind of stuff. Go hang upside down, fight those allergies. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend. I'm glad I saved our notes about sportsmanship, gamesmanship.
Love it.
And all that kind of stuff. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend.
Thank you, brother. Take care.
All right. That's Greg Garza and his nose.